This is Garrett Fry, the Cityscape Sequence Lead for 3D Digital Map Painting, and we're taking a look at shot E100. So if we see, we start out on the left and pan to the right. So in this shot, we need to change this building here. So I would recommend starting at this base because the base of the building and the top of the building don't necessarily need to be connected. So go ahead and replace this building completely here. And over here on the right hand side, you can add buildings in here. If you do, you can do a couple of different things, and it kind of depends on where you're putting the buildings. So if you put a building over here on the right, you have to deal with the moving vegetation here. And so you could do a couple of things. You could pull a key because of the blue sky. You could pretty successfully pull a key and place your building behind there. Or you can still the trees. So that means you just have a matte painting element that looks that it is this is the plate, and it goes on top of the plate, and it makes everything look static and still. There's not a ton of movement back there, and so you'll probably be able to get away with it. So wherever you kind of put your line down here where maybe these are moving and these aren't, and all of these are kind of static, still trees, and then it's very easy for you to put your buildings back here. Okay, so go ahead and change out this building and fill in this area over here with some buildings. And then you can evaluate, you can look at that and say, hey, do I need to touch this building here? Because this is another foreground building that represents a bunch of work. So if you spend your time doing this guy and these guys over here, then you can look and be like, is it changed enough, the brief, that it's a different city? If it feels like a different city, then yes, you can go ahead and change that. You also have the possibility of changing some things out back here as well. So this shot needs to be looked at with E101 and E102. All three of these shots have different lighting conditions, and so whatever elements that you're adding for these shots need to be reflected in these other shots. So the image reference that you're using, you want to pick it in a way that it's not too extreme in its lighting condition, maybe, because then you'll have to take out that lighting condition. Or you can find the same building from multiple times a day, which would be maybe just a bit harder. But if you do find that, then you can use a couple of different image references of the same building for the different shots. But the pretty safe way is if you find something that's pretty evenly lit, that doesn't have like a really extreme lighting direction on it, then you can enhance a lighting direction or change it or have it work under a direct lighting situation or a indirect lighting situation. So those are some things to consider. So go through, make sure that you do some concept pieces first where you're throwing in your elements, checking to see if it's going to work with all of these shots. And then once you've determined that yes, it is a good reference, go ahead and get started on this shot. Make sure that before you jump into these shots, you download the image library. The image library consists of nearly 500 raw images. That's 2.27 gigs of buildings from 5 different cities from around the world: Sydney, Wellington, Adelaide, San Francisco, and New Orleans. So there's a huge variety of buildings to choose from. The photo reference includes buildings under all different lighting conditions and angles, so it pays off to familiarize yourself with the materials you're going to use to successfully execute these shots.